Well, Preecy, Hereford won, surely 4. We said in the build-up to the game it was going to be a really tough place to come, but ultimately your lads made all the difference there today. A comprehensive win.
Yeah, it was in the end. I think, look, at the start of the game we were ruthless. Took our chances, but we looked really good, and some of the passing and the movement and the way we created the goals. Just was top draw. We felt we could get a little bit of joy out wide. With them playing a back three or a back five, and we managed to exploit that. But then you've got to have the quality then to get in, and like I say, some of the passing and movement, the finishes were great. And then we didn't let up. That was the thing I liked in the first 20 minutes. We never stopped. We got one, we didn't sit back. We went again and we went again, and we created other chances in that opening 25 minutes, and once you get 3-0 up, it can be, they say 2-0's a difficult score, right? But 3, they get one back, which they did, and they were piling the pressure on. You need that, you need that buffer of the fourth one, and then that knocks the wind out of them. But for a 4-1, it wasn't as comfortable in the second half, because you can see, these players at Hereford play for the manager. They give everything. They put us under pressure. They've kept going. Even when we got the fourth one, you think maybe they'll back off now, but they kept coming, and we've had to get blocks in, saves. We've had to defend well at set pieces. They've asked plenty of questions, and although probably on that first 25 minutes was probably where the game was won, but we needed that. We needed that cushion, because they never let up.
You mentioned that kind of passing, especially in the early stages. It was a perfect example of it, wasn't it, when Craig Hewitt got the ball from George Horbury, a quick 1-2, and Craig's first start of the season and his first goal. Really happy for him.
Yeah, great for him. Look, he's had a hard, long road back. When did he get injured? In November. That's his first start since November. We've had to take our time with him. Obviously, he's been desperate to play, but the good thing is we've got good players all over the pitch, and in wide areas we've got quality. And Billy's done brilliant. Warren's done brilliant for us. Milan, was great for the half an hour that he was on the pitch. Tom Walker, and Craig. So we can and we have been patient with him, and we still will be. Because it's hard when you've been out for so long. You just have to be careful. You don't want reoccurring injuries. But yeah, he was a big threat for us today. But I thought we were great all over the pitch. Very hard to pick one person out. And we've been stretched a little bit. Stretched at centre half. We're losing Harvey and Willow. And then Birdie's come in. Thought he was excellent today. Did really well. Jack Moore's come in at right back again, and another really good performance coming in for Henners. So we've had to make a few changes. We've shuffled it around a little bit, but I just, like I said, I think we've just got that strength in depth at the minute, and hopefully that'll take us a long way. It's a good start, but it's only a start.
I know Ioane doesn't really like to single out individual players, but we can't not mention it. Another 2 for Jack Sampson, another player you've had to be really patient with over the last few months. A great start from him this season. Yeah,
he was similar to Craig. He had a really disruptive back end to the season. He had a lot of, he had some doubts when he first got injured about whether he could carry on or whether he wanted to carry on. He was just getting so frustrated. But he's worked extremely hard to get back into the shape that he is. He's getting his rewards. 4 in 4 is not a bad start. And don't forget, we're without Cole Hall as well at this minute in time. So, we have been, we've been stretched. Blakey had to come off, early in the second half as well. So, it's not all been smooth, but you know, credit to the lads who haven't been starting, that they're ready to go, and that's what you need. You know, you need the support of the whole squad. That you know, no one sulks and gets their heads down, and they just have to be ready, because you know, we've used the majority already. You know, I think there's only maybe 2 or 3 in our squad who've not had a game.
That word support rings true right the way through, whether it's the players, the staff, and also the supporters. 44 of them made the long journey, and certainly one worthwhile for them, and obviously for us. It's now moving on quickly to Monday's really tough test against Kingsley at home.
Yeah, look, it's, you know, the crowd fantastic, and I thought the crowd were good for Hereford. I don't think they ever stopped. I think they appreciate that their lads never stopped. Yeah, it was a difficult opening, but you know, the manager's done a fantastic job here. You know, the last 2 years have been in and around the playoffs, overachieving, and then when you lose your players, and you know, I'm used to what's happened to him. You know, the second season I had, we lost our 3 top scorers. We drew the first 3 games and lost 1. You know, we had 3 points from 4 games, and ended up eventually getting in the playoffs. You know, Paul will do that. He'll get it right. He'll work it out. But you know, he needs a backing, and you can see he got the backing of the fans today, and ours were fantastic as well. You know, you can hear them. You know, there weren't loads of them, but there was enough to make a noise. And yeah, it's always nice to share wins like that when they've travelled so far. And again, you know, we got held up on the motorway a little bit, and the driver had to take his break, so we got here, you know, just, you know, a little bit late. And I'm sure it was the same for them. I think they probably had a disrupted travel down, but you know, it's all worth it when you get a result like that, because you know, mark my words, they'll win a lot of games at home, Hereford, this season.